Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beastly Talks. I'm your host, Ian Helling, and I am very excited today to have a guest with me, which is a long-term friend and an excellent dog trainer. It's my good friend, Hailey Robertson from ZenergyK9. How are you, my friend?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, just working dogs and arguing online. That's what we do, isn't it?
It is. Yes.
Well, look, I
Drink
try to
whiskey.
minimize. And drink whiskey. Yeah, oh my god, I got that reference. I try to minimize the amount of arguing that I do these days, but occasionally someone will come along and just make my life hell, and then something has to be said.
Yep. I agree.
But yeah, how are things down your way?
Busy, but good. I've just started back for classes for the year, so we had a 4-week break. I'm going straight into obedience class this Saturday and herding breed course, and then reactive dog class. So yeah, keep him busy. Need a holiday.
Nice. Yeah, well, look, the more holidays I take, the more time off I need, I find. I don't know if that's a thing of getting old or if that's just being burnt out, but here we are. I enjoy doing the podcast. That's kind of like my downtime, having a chat with sensible people, having some fun.
Yep. Old back.
All right, so ZenergyK9, give us your origin story. Like, we like origin stories here. We need to know where everyone came from. How did you get into dog training? How long you've been doing it? What is your primary job? What do you do the most? And give us a little breakdown of Hailey and Zenergy.
Okay. So I started puppy classes in like a big box store in 2010. And if I remember correctly, I would have been like 16 or 17. And I was just running these puppy classes by myself. And then I had a qualified dog trainer ask me if I wanted to shadow him for a while. So went along to some classes and kind of watched him work with dogs. And then in 2008 or 2017, I opened my business. So I branched out by myself. And I was Magic Paws Puppy School. It was all very like cutesy. I actually ran the classes like in my garage, and it was like set up like a classroom. It was all very cute, very different to like what I am now. Um, and that was in 2017. Then 2018, I did my NDTF. And at that time, I changed my business name as well. So I went from predominantly working with puppies. Once I changed my name, that's when I started getting the reactive dogs, which was super interesting. Like when I was Magic Paws Puppy School and I had like a purple logo with a dog on it. It was all very cutesy, got all the puppies, young dogs. And then when I turned into ZenergyK9, that's when the reactive dogs started coming through. So it's interesting. And at that time, I was charging not a lot of money to just gain experience. So, like, my sessions at one point were like $30 for an hour I was charging. It was
Oh, wow.
yeah, I still have a pamphlet somewhere of my costs. It was like $70 for an in-home session. I would go in, work with the dogs. Yep. It was
Right. Yeah,
exactly
okay. Yeah,
Um,
that's a good deal.
yeah, yeah. So that definitely helped with my experience with the reactive dogs. And then, yeah, over the years, I've kind of just changed actually quite a lot how I do things. I feel like what in, 2018, 2019, I was pretty compulsion based. I feel like I was pretty, I don't want to say heavy handed, but like a compulsion based. I didn't use treats. It was all very like, the way I learned was like, you use your tone, you use your body language. That sort of
Mm.
stuff. And then as I grew,
So
like,
was that from, the person that you've been shadowing under at the
yeah,
time, or?
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So as far as I'm aware, they still do the same now. Like that's still their technique. Um, but yeah, once I started doing like the board and trains, I would see that that's not actually helpful. If anything, the dogs don't trust me when I'm telling them sit, drop. And they're like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, I that's when I started incorporating play and treats and whatever, whatever reward the dog likes, needs.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And
That's
so this
boring.
was after you'd done NDTF, then
Yeah.
you kinda learnt a little bit more, I presume, from NDTF?
I did. From NDTF, I feel like I took away a lot of the legalities of dog training, I guess. I feel like I was a bit naive to all that, just plodding along my way,
Yep.
young 20-year-old, not really
Well, I
knowing
mean,
how to.
you started very young, so you're not very responsible when you're kinda like 16, 17, 18 years old.
No, definitely not. And yeah, definitely changed. Like I look at some of the videos because I still have the original phone that I used from when I first opened. Like I look at some of those videos now and think, oh, that's just so messy. And because I was getting results, I was like, it works. Like that, I'll continue doing that. But I would say now that I am definitely like more gentle, uh,
Mm.
definitely use a lot more rewards than what I did back then. Uh, yeah,
And
not
I
the same.
mean, like no, no, no. No, not at all. And again, I mean, I kinda stumbled into dog training, uh well, I kind of stumbled into the force-free side of things first. Like, that was literally the
Uh,
first thing that I learned about dog
okay.
training.
Yeah.
You never say
So
no to your dog. Yeah, you never say no to your dog. You just throw food around till things work kinda thing. And, I was very anti-punishment until I did NDTF and realized
yeah,
that, "Oh, shit, there's actually more to dog training than just handing them snacks from time to time."
yeah, yep,
And, yeah, like, it's funny that you should say, like, when you had your cutesy name and that kinda stuff, 'cause, obviously, my company name, Beautiful Beasts, is,
yeah. Fighting
I
dog
guess it's
trainer.
quite yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
quite telling. So, pretty much the first dogs that I ever got were, like, pretty fucking human aggressive dogs, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I had no idea what I was doing. And it's actually a miracle that I haven't been bitten more than I have. But I
Yeah.
guess during my time in rescue and stuff, we would often get sent dogs to us that we didn't know had human aggression issues until they kind of just latched onto your leg because you walked too close to them or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I very much learned dogs and dog training from the bitey end of the dog,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a backwards approach from what most people do, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah, what
But
I did, like, with the puppies and then the aggression, the reactivity, um, yeah, it was all
because
just
that's kinda the normal approach into it, right?
yeah,
People, they have a dog, they go to classes, they go, "Oh, this is cool." They start volunteering for classes, they learn a little bit more, they start training puppies, they start teaching loose lead walking, and eventually they kinda stumble into the aggression side of things.
yeah,
I mean, that would be the natural progression for, probably 99% of dog trainers. Whereas I
yeah,
just went like, "Hey, send me some aggressive dogs and I'll see what happens." Um and that was a steep learning curve. I can tell you one thing for sure, and that is that punishment works and you learn
yeah,
quickly from it.
yep. It's true for humans and animals. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. So I want to look, we have to touch on this. You have an odd selection of dogs for a
I do.
dog trainer. When you look at social media these days, everyone's got like 3 Malinois, a German Shepherd, and then maybe like a pug or something odd,
Yeah,
which is kind of their pet, not really their working dogs. But and I mean, speaking for myself, I have 3 herding dogs at the moment. Used to have 4, and used to have a fifth as well. So I very much got stuck in the herding dog side of things, but you're branching out a lot when it comes to different types of dogs. So talk about that a little bit.
Uh, so I have a 10-year-old Cavalier who last year lost his eyes, so he's blind. And I have a almost 7-year-old German short hair pointer, and then I have a almost 2-year-old 3-kilo toy poodle.
Yeah. So actually, let's talk about Albus, your Cavalier, and he had some. It wasn't an injury; it was an illness of some sort he had with his
Yes.
eyes, wasn't it? So what actually happened there?
So he'd always had dry eyes, like, they do the test where they put the paper in and they measure the moisture in the eye, sorry, and he always had dry eyes, but it had never been an issue, and then
Mm.
2004, he started getting reoccurring ulcers, so it would go from one eye to the next, like, we'd clear one eye, then the other one would have one, and we just went back and forth for ages. He then ended up with bumps on the eyelid in one eye. Then it was the other eye, and at one point, we were putting in 4 different drops into his eyes every single day, and that was twice a day, and if you skipped one,
Right.
then the bumps would flare up. So, basically, it was the tissue underneath his eyeballs were attacking his eyeballs. I don't know what that's that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I can't help you with that one.
yeah, so that has all been taken out. The eyelid was cut and then just sewn closed. And since then, nothing else has popped up. No rashes, nothing. So that,
Okay.
yeah, it really weird. Apparently,
And I
our
mean,
vet,
that would have been very uncomfortable for him as well. I presume it would have been very itchy and just generally uncomfortable.
yeah, he was in a lot of pain. I look back now at some of the photos, and he was just always squinting. And like at the time, I used to kind of laugh and be like, "Oh, he's got attitude." But I look back now and I'm like, actually, he was in pain, and I just didn't pick it up soon enough because the vets that we were seeing were saying, "Oh, he does have dry eye, but like it's not anything to worry about."
Yeah, and look, when it comes to medical stuff, we kind of have to listen to the professionals, don't we? Because
Yes.
that's not really what we do for a living. But
Yes. Exactly.
but yeah, he seems to be going strong now. He's still coming on adventures and having a good time.
He does. He hikes. We're working on his off-lead recall, so he'll never. I'm obviously never going to take him off the lead and hike with him because he'll run off the side of a mountain. Like
Yeah.
he's yeah, he doesn't stick close. A couple of times I've unhooked him to put him in the car at the forest, and he's booked it. Like he knows he's free and he takes off, and so I'm like jogging after him, yelling at him. Um, he's just he's slowed down because of his back legs, but otherwise he's so much better than he was. Like
Y-
he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess you can't really strap a stick to a dog either to kind of help them show where
No.
the edge of the cliff is.
No. Well, he had a halo, so it's like a cushion with a ring around it, and
Yeah.
he would just plow into everything. So we learnt to take that off, and like he's just got to run into it and learn. But he still runs. He'll just
Yep.
bolt. Yep.
Okay. Look, I guess some of us learn a little bit slower than others.
Yeah,
Uh,
Cappy. There's not a lot of
just
brain in there.
no. All right, so like coming up to this chat, we have kind of been talking a little bit about a topic, and
Yep.
it's a topic that's kind of affected both of us, and talking about retiring a working dog.
Yep.
And but before we get into that specifically, I want to talk a little bit about what is a working dog. Right. For the people who don't know, what is an actual working dog? And I don't just mean like from a breed a point of view, like so it's not like a Kelpie is a working dog, but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a working Kelpie.
Yeah.
So I guess a working dog is a dog that is used to perform a very practical task.
Yep.
And this kind of extends into very, very, very many different areas. So I've just written down a whole bunch of them here, which is like
Mhm.
the first ones that came off the top of my head. You might have something to add, but assistance dog, therapy dog, service dog, military police dogs, conservation dogs, protection or personal protection dogs, demo dogs, trigger
Yep.
dogs, herders, sledding dogs, hunting, retrieving dogs, search and rescue livestock. Like there are so many different tasks that
Yeah.
dog can perform.
Yep.
And a lot of these jobs are incredibly taxing on the dog, both physically and mentally, which is at some point, like a lot of dogs get washed out. Obviously,
Yep.
if you're breeding and racing police dogs, for example, not very many actually make it through. Same
Yep.
as like blind dogs, which I've kind of forgotten to put on my list here, but guide dogs, not blind
Good dogs.
dogs.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, but guide dogs, not
Yeah. Yeah.
not Albus, right? But but dogs that are actually helping blind people, right? But these jobs are incredibly taxing and hard work for a lot of the dogs, but they're also very rewarding if you find the right dog. And so I guess let's talk a little bit about the kind of motivation that a dog needs to have. And I feel like a dog that does any form of an actual job needs to absolutely love that job in order
Sure.
to continue on with it. So, what are your thoughts on that? I know you work a lot with assistance dogs and that kind of stuff. I want to get a little bit more into that, but what's
Yep.
your take on what makes a good working dog, I guess?
So I feel like obviously if we're talking like hunting, police dogs, anything that requires a lot of drive, prey drive, obviously you need a dog that's gonna like go, 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 but also have an acceptable off switch. And when we're talking about assistance dogs, I always think that assistance dogs need to have like a very close bond with their handler. There needs to be like a might sound a bit hippy dippy. They need to have like a mutual respect for each other and want to work with each other. Because if you have a handler who's too harsh or doesn't give enough feedback to the dog will shut down and stop working. It doesn't want to do it anymore. Um, but too much, let's say, prey drive is not good in an assistance dog because we now have things, I mean, not legally, but you will find a lot of people say they have like assistant rabbits, assistance birds,
Yeah.
chickens. Like, I don't want to get into the whole debate, but like your assistance dog is going to be put in a situation where there are prey animals and you need to be able to control that prey drive enough that your pointer is not trying to take out somebody's rabbit, for instance.
Yeah. And I guess like if we're specifically talking about assistant dogs as well, prey drive, is there any use for prey drive in an actual assistance dog? Is there any like task where prey drive would be useful or necessary?
No, no. Really, uh, the only thing I can think of is like if we're doing retrieving, that we want that dog to have like a bit of drive to go retrieve it when we're first teaching that. But we have a lot of other options. If your dog doesn't want to chase the ball or chase the dumbbell or whatever it is, we can do other things. Prey drive is not ideal, but in saying that, Remy's got a he he has a high prey drive for rabbits, because I do let him point at the rabbits when we're out and about. But if he's in his vest, then he can switch that off.
Mm,
But I will say that your average pet owner usually can't do that. So
yeah.
prey drive is not ideal. I mean, we'll get into it. He's washed. He's not working anymore. But even when he was working, like he could point at a rabbit, stalk it, and then recoil away from it. He's not like chasing it and catching it. One, he's too big and dopey, but he's also not that fast. Like,
He's
He
such
just
a fun dog, though. I love Remy. He's a laugh and a half. But actually, let's get into that a little bit because that's an interesting topic. And talking about conditioning different tools to mean different things to a dog.
yes.
So, like
Yep.
you were saying there, you put the vest on, and the dog kind of their whole mindset is conditioned to switch to
Yes.
something else where they
Yep.
go like, "Oh shit, well I have a specific job to do now." Which is the same here with Agna, like he wears his house collar, he wears that all the time
Mhm.
until I put on his fat agitation collar, and that means give me 120% no matter what it is we're doing
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Like how do we condition that from a young age in a puppy? And specifically, I guess more so towards an assistance dog, because I imagine that would be even more important to teach a mindset rather than just go like, "Hey, here's a collar. It's crazy time. Let's go."
Yes. So I guess everyone has a different method of doing it. The way that I do it is my dogs only work when they're vested, and that's what I recommend to my clients. And I know a lot of companies, organizations will do things differently. I am of the belief, this is just me, that your assistance dog shouldn't be working 24/7. That's a quick way to burn them out and make them hate the job. So
Mm.
my dogs really only work when they're vested, or if I'm having like a terrible migraine attack, then they might help. But even then, if I'm home and I have all my meds and I can deal with it, I'll be like, go to bed. So
Mm.
I condition my dogs that when that when that vest goes on, that we relax. So I start that in the house. So with Grayson, because he is twitchy, typical toy poodle, like he literally hops on the spot. When I
Yep.
put his vest on, we relax. If he's like switched on, twitching, we like have conditioned that we're calm. Um,
Mm.
Same with Remy as a puppy, I would take him out on the vest, but only, let's say, for instance, in Bunnings, we would walk through like an aisle. If he starts trying to sniff or like pull towards someone, we turn, get his engagement, and then keep moving.
Mm.
And then as soon as they get in the car, I then take the vest off and I'll be like, all done. That's how I
Mm.
do it. So that's what I do
Yep.
with my dog. I know a couple of my clients will be like, put the vest on and they'll say working, and they do it that way. Um,
Yep.
I just do once that vest is on, you're working and
I
relax.
guess giving something like a working cue though can overexcite a dog. It can put them into a too high state of arousal, which again can be
Yes.
a problem, especially when you need a calmer dog for assistance dog type work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you ever like put the vest on and crate the dog if the dog is properly crate trained to kind of try and pair the two together? Like, hey, it's chill time now, or is it always to bring them out to do things?
So the way that I do it is on like a settle mat because a lot of people have a mat with them. So that's why I do like at my feet. So then they work out that when they're on the mat, they relax. And even Remy, if we're like in classes, because that's such a conditioned response, he won't be on the bed or the mat like vibrating for the toy. He'll be like, I'm on the mat,
Mm.
relaxing. Um, but you could do for the crate that could work. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the mat is a very big thing, especially for assistance dogs. It's, I think our friend Emily refers to it as the portable charging station. So when you
Yes.
sit down to have coffee at a bakery or something, you put the mat down, the dog kind of just curls up, goes to sleep until it's time to get back to work again.
Yep. Yep.
Which is a very cool idea, and I love it, and look, for my boy Agni, like, his place command is incredibly important, but again, he can be in full drive vibrating, like you said, sitting on place because he's waiting for the next command to come, so to him, that's not necessarily relaxing, it's just like you cannot leave the place no matter what.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I feel like that's a
but yeah.
really representation of like the different jobs, for you. But you want that. You want that dog to be like vibrating, like we're doing something else. But for assistance dogs, if I have Remy vibrating on place, that's not serving
Yeah.
us. So it's all about like just relax, relax.
So you saying that purpose-bred military line working Malinois aren't gonna make great assistance dogs? Is that what you're implying?
Perhaps. I mean, I know a couple of Malinois who are assistance dogs. However, they all do sports. They all do something
Yeah.
else. They like none of them just do assistance dog work and that's it.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
it's interesting that because people come here and they see how Agna kinda just lounges around the house and sleeps all day, and they go like, "Does he actually have drive?" And I'm like, "Oof, are you sure you wanna see this?" Because someone's gonna bleed, someone's gonna bruise when we switch him on kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
great for when you have to, like, bite people that are running away from you while pointing a knife kinda thing. Not so great if you're gonna chill at a cafe with a million people around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so talk to us a little bit about because this is something I'm actually a little bit confused about because I don't do. I have helped a couple of people with their assistance dogs, but this is not my area of expertise at all. So let's talk about the difference between an assistance dog, a therapy dog, and a service dog. So,
Yep.
is service dog and therapy dog the same, just like an American version versus an Australian version, or are they different?
Uh, so it depends who you talk to. Technically, a service dog is an American assistance dog, but
Okay.
a lot of people will call a service dog like a police dog or a scent detection dog
Ah,
because they're like
right.
in
Okay.
service. That's what a lot of people will call them. I don't think there's any like legal term for them, but basically, uh, Americans will say service dog. We say assistance dogs for ours, and then therapy dogs are for other people. So, like, my assistance dogs won't task for anyone else unless they've been around those people quite a few times. So, like, a big one for both my dogs is migraine alert. And both of them have alerted to a friend of mine who she gets migraine. So they've let her know like hours before you're getting a migraine, take your meds.
Mm. Okay.
But usually they're just for one handler. Um,
Yeah.
and they alleviate a disability, whether that be medical or psychiatric, either of those. And then a therapy dog goes into like community centers, schools, hospitals. Really, they are just pets who provide comfort. So when I work
Mm.
with therapy dogs, like the test for therapy dogs is really quite basic. You know, they can't rush out the door, they can't bite anyone, they can't be anxious, but like really they don't do anything. Not to
Yeah.
invalidate therapy dogs, but like they're not task trained for anything. They're just well trained pets.
Yeah, sure. And just for anyone listening, when we talk about task train, that
Mm,
means the dog
yeah.
has learnt a specific is it 3 tasks they need to have to be an assistance dog? And what is a
Yeah.
task, essentially?
So a task is something that will alleviate a disability. So let's say, for instance, migraine alert, panic attack interrupters. You might see like gluten detection dogs for celiacs. So all those conditions mean that someone is disabled. You can't just self-diagnose and then get a dog that may help. So it has to be prescribed by a doctor or a psychologist. And then that task is something to alleviate. So, yeah, self harm is another one for some people. PTSD flashbacks, the dog will interrupt them. Night terror interruptions, a big one as well. Like, there's so many. Um,
And I guess from a physical side of like physical point of view, if you're in a wheelchair, it might be things like retrieving things on the ground
Yes.
that you've dropped, keys, all those kind of things that you might not be able to get to.
Yep. Opening doors, all the little things that you kind of take for granted that can help someone else, I guess.
Yeah, 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 for sure. So in short, an assistance dog is a one-person dog, a therapy dog is an everyone's
Yeah.
calming dog. So a therapy dog is that what they would use? So I know they use dogs when children are in courtrooms and that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. Would that be
yeah,
a therapy dog then?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think they call that like there's a very specific name for that. I've never trained one. I've never worked with one. They have a specific name, but it is a therapy dog. They have like another, like a wellness dog, maybe. Someone will be able to correct me, but I think it's like a wellness dog, but it's a therapy dog.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, assistance dogs, I know there's quite an extensive, well, training process, number one, but also an extensive test that you have to go through. Whereas with the therapy dog, is there an actual test? Well, I guess it has to be some kind of test for them to be recognized as one or the other kind of thing.
Or what was that? Sorry, it just paused. Sorry.
Oh, did I pause? Oh, sorry. No, so I was just talking about, I know that there's quite an extensive test for making a dog an assistance dog. And, I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that. But on the flip side, is there a test for therapy dogs or is that more just general assessment of a dog kind of thing?
So with the therapy dogs, it's just a business. So you could do a therapy dog program, you're NDTF qualified. You could do a therapy dog program and you have, 20 dogs that are well trained. You have a test for your criteria and then you give them a certificate at the end of that test.
Okay.
That's, yeah. So for assistance dogs, you have two type of trainers. The first is a guide hearing assistance dog, so they're GAD approved. That's what M is. So she's basically nationally accredited. So her signing off on something is recognised all over Australia. Um, that is a quite a stringent test, and if I remember correctly, the dogs need to be altered. They need to be desexed, um, and they just have
Yes, I think
one.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they just have one test for everyone. Then the other side of that is you can be an NDTF trainer who runs your own program, has your own test, and then you just give the certificate at the end of it. So, like for my teams,
Right.
yeah, that's what I do. So I'm not GAD certified. Um, I've got intact dogs, desex dogs. Um, but let's say, for instance, someone wants to jump on a plane. The Qantas, for instance, calls me, says, "Are you a dog trainer? Is this team legitimate?" I say, "Yes." "No, never heard of them." And sorry, the local
Oh,
hoons.
yeah.
And then they can jump on the plane and head off. So I've had a couple of teams that can fly. Um,
Oh, okay. And are these
yeah,
therapy dogs, not assistance dogs?
yeah, yeah, assistants.
Yeah, assistants. Yeah, yeah, because therapy dogs can't go on planes, but assistant dogs can.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, gotcha.
yes, yeah.
Okay,
But
so
that was a lot of rambling.
no, 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 I think that makes sense, but yeah, I know it is quite a stringent test to actually get a dog through the assistance dog specifically. I just
Yes.
don't know that much about the therapy dog side of things.
Yeah.
Um, but I know this, we were gonna talk about, actually, like, retiring working dogs, but
Mhm.
this is kind of interesting, so I'm gonna ramble on a little bit more, but I'm sure you're much more well versed in this than I am, but the problem with fake service dogs or fake assistance dogs or therapy dogs or whatever you call it. So essentially, someone just buys a harness or a vest, puts it on the dog, and takes it everywhere they want to go without any testing. And a lot of these dogs often have some behavioral issues because they're not prepared for the task whatsoever. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that's something you've encountered. Talk a little bit about that and the problems that that can cause for actual people with actual dogs.
Yeah. So I do see it a lot, unfortunately. And we actually have an organization that you would also know that their test is ridiculous. It's so easy. Like you could put any dog in a vest through them and they would pass. And the dogs that I see are reactive. Some of them are human aggressive, they're barking, lunging. And while, yes, your assistance dog should be really stable, they should be able to take a lot of stress. It's so unnecessary. If I'm walking through a doctor's or even if I'm walking through the shops and I don't know, 30-kilo Labrador is pulling a woman in a wheelchair towards Grayson, that's one, problematic for
Mhm.
my little assistance dog who is just doing his job. But also for their dog as well. I think a lot of these people don't realize how stressful it is for their dog. They, put these vests on their own dogs. Their dogs go out with them. They're panting, whale-eye. Like I've seen dogs poo in the shop. Like it's just, they're so stressed and the owners are just oblivious because they want their dogs with them.
Yeah.
Uh, and another thing with that is it does make it hard for legitimate assistance dog teams to do things because shopping centers, businesses just assume that they're fake. So the amount of times that I've heard people like in businesses go, dogs aren't allowed. Then you have to stand there and go, well, my dog is an assistance dog and here's our logs and our letters and our trainer's name and blah, blah, blah. Um, it just makes it harder. So it's like the flying with an assistance dog is hard to do, but it's harder now because so many people fake assistance dogs. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that is troublesome, isn't it? Because you have the wrong dog for the job, and we see with working dogs particularly, and I'm going to throw this out super broad now. Like we do see a lot of problem behaviors stemming from working dogs, right? You will
Mhm.
see herding dogs that are chasing cars or pulling joggers over, you know, um, we have a lot of maladaptive aggression in protection dogs. So dogs that are like supposedly a protection dog, but they're just nervous and aggressive towards everyone.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's not really a proper protection dog because they're not meant to be nervous. They're meant to be fucking task trained to go
Yeah.
and take someone down. And yeah, the last one that I've got on my list is nervous assistance dogs, which
Mhm.
I guess brings me into the next topic that I want to talk a little bit about, and that is selecting a working dog.
Yes.
So, um, obviously, if you're doing kind of protection, military, police, they tend to just go with German Shepherds and more recently Malinois because
Mhm.
they just love biting things and they love barking things. They have a naturally high level of aggression. And I guess a lot of people don't know this, but a military or a police dog is meant to be a force multiplier, right? So you have a policeman that says, "Hey, come out of your house." The person kind of shows a knife through the door. Then now that person's escalating the force. Therefore, they start escalating the force, but they don't want to go straight to guns and shoot the person. And so very often they'll utilize dogs in that scenario. Uh, Now that's a little bit off topic of what we're talking about at the moment, but how many people have contacted you that want to train an assistance dog that they picked up from a shelter?
Actually quite a lot. Um, a lot and some, like, really weird mixes, like husky stuffy or, like,
Mm,
pug poodle, like, just, some really odd mixes that you're like, "Oh." Of course, there is, like, I call them the unicorns that they, can do the job, but, yeah, quite a few shelter dogs, but also quite a few dogs that they've had as pets for, like, 3, 4 years, and then their doctor has said, "An assistance dog would be great for you," and they go, "Oh, well, I have Rufus at home, so we'll use him."
mm,
So it's very common. So I do assessments, and usually people get very cranky when I say, "Look, Rufus is not really cut out for the job for his well-being,
yeah.
but also for yours."
And yeah, look, I get it. I get that people get upset because everyone has the best dog in the world and no one is technically incorrect about that. But when you are looking for a very specific type of working or task trained dogs, you, especially in the assistance dog side of things, you need to have a pretty fucking stable dog that isn't just gonna freak out or blow up or go nuts at things.
Yeah.
So no, I only bring that up because I know a lot of people. Well, I know some other people as well that work with a lot of training up assistance dogs, and yeah, man, the dogs that come to them, it's like 18-month-old pit bull crosses that are dog aggressive as shit. And they're like, hey, this is my new assistance dog. And you're like, wow, how about we start looking at maybe getting you a purpose bred dog
Yeah.
for
Like,
this
get a
particular
Labrador.
task?
Everybody's like, "No."
Exactly.
No, I have, I don't know. I always think of, that meme that's like, "This is Piss Fingers, and he's gone to 19 homes already." I always think of that like, "Oh, no. Oh, no."
Uh, yeah, Piss Fingers is 21 years old and needs an orchard full of extinct fruit in order
Yes.
to be, yeah. And
Always
look,
what I think
it's
of. Oh,
yeah. And I mean, like, look, I've done a lot of sorry. Oh god, brain just blocked. A lot of
assessments?
like rescue dog work.
Oh,
Sorry,
rescue.
rescue dog work in the past. Yeah. Oh man, my brain just blanked out then. So I'm all for rehoming, rescuing, fostering dogs, that kind of stuff. And I've helped out a lot of shelters as well with various things. But yeah, it is not the right place to go to find a specific working dog for a specific task. And as sad as it is, good dogs don't really end up in shelters most of the time. There are some freak accidents where an old couple has died and no one in the family wants to take the dog, and this like super chill little 8-year-old, cavoodle thing ends up in the shelter. But it is quite uncommon. They tend to have some pretty significant behavioral issues, which is why they ended up in the shelter to begin with.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to bring that up because hopefully if someone is thinking about getting or want to get into some kind of assistance dog or therapy dog type work, just don't go to the nearest shelter and pick up the cutest dog that you can find, because chances are they're not actually going to make it in that job.
Yep.
So I don't know if you have anything you want to finish on that before we get more into the actual topic of the task, now that we've been talking for 40 minutes.
Um, I always say it's just really important to get the right dog for the job to save money, heartache, and pressure on the dog. Like, the end of the day, if you grab a shelter dog that's got, it's bitten 3 dogs and mauled the local cat, like, why try and force him into being an assistance dog or a therapy dog when you could buy a Labrador, a poodle, a collie, whatever it is, and have a higher chance of happiness for everyone.
Mm. And again, this comes back to, why force a square peg into a round hole, I guess,
Mhm.
which is unfortunately what we see a lot of um, in especially the assistance dog side of things, I guess. I feel like you don't see a lot of misplaced. It's very rare to see some kind of like backyard bred Doberman in the military. Like,
Yeah,
let's just put it that way. I guess they have a much more rigorous kind of selection
yeah,
process and stuff. But when it's self-trained, I guess, assistance dogs, then people tend to just grab whatever dog they have and say, all right, cool, let's make this happen.
yeah,
Which isn't always that good for the dog. And in many cases, has a very low chance of success, I guess.
yeah, yep, agreed.
All right. So, yeah. So if you want to get into assistance dog stuff, get a dog that is appropriate for the job. Now, why do we need to retire working dogs? And I ask that as a very broad question. And obviously, we can talk about, police dogs and that kind of stuff. They tend to retire when they get old or injured, right? Because they
Mhm.
have an incredibly physically tasking job. Conservation or detection dogs, they tend to retire when they burn out. I guess a
Yes,
little bit because they have such an intensely focused job. But so to talk about us, talk a little bit about Remy uh, from you got him as a puppy, how you trained him, what he did. I know he was your assistance dog for a while, and what made you decide to wash him? So I guess I should say washing just means washing a dog out of assistance. So
Yes.
we
Yeah.
either retire them or we decide they weren't appropriate for the job to begin with. But
Yeah.
what made you make the decision to retire Remy from the task that he had, and what have you replaced it with? Essentially, what does he do now?
Okay. So I got him right before COVID-19. COVID hit and I developed agoraphobia, so I couldn't get past my mailbox. Um, as you can remember, like, I think that's when we first started chatting and we were doing lives, and I was just like an anxious mess. Even in my house, I was anxious.
Mm,
And he would do things like he was tasking for me back then, like panic attack interrupters. So you were just naturally doing it, but I didn't know what assistance dogs were back then. I had actually gotten him because I wanted to do gun dog trials. That was why I bought him. I just wanted like an all round active dog to get me out of the house. I know, not a good reason to get a dog, but I wanted to do gun dog trials. I was super interested in it.
mhm.
But then COVID happened and I like really couldn't, it sounds super morbid, like I couldn't really see a future. So we were just in the backyard playing tug. Not the best thing to do with a gun dog. Like I was literally like wrestling with him and he'd be up off the ground on the bungee bloody rope and, we obviously destroyed that, like, soft mouth. So
Sure.
he'll never do
Now, can I just ask you one thing real quick? Is he snoring behind you? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's Albert.
Okay.
That's Albert, he's actually in the other room, so that lets you know how loud he is. He's in the next room, but,
Wow.
like, a door
Yeah,
closed.
that's impressive. All right, cool. Sorry if I
I
was
didn't
about to
think you'd
interrupt,
hear that.
but keep going. No, I just heard like a little rumbling, and I thought it was a car for a second, but I'm like, that sounds a lot like snoring.
That's Albert, his face is, like, pressed up against his pen.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
Um,
Yeah, sorry. So you were playing tug in the backyard and
yeah.
destroyed his soft mouth. Do you want to explain what a soft mouth is? Because someone who might not know.
Oh, so like pointers, retrievers, anything that's in like the gun dog category, Labradors, they have what we call soft mouth. So like they will grab a toy or whatever it is and they will just hold it very lightly. So think of it as like if you shoot a pigeon, they go and collect it, they grab it very softly, they bring it back, no puncture wounds. When we trialed Remy after COVID, he was like putting holes in the decoys. So not
Yep.
not gun dog worthy. But that was me. I just didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to get rid of some energy because we were just stuck in the house so much. I then saw a counselor who said, like, have you thought about an assistance dog? He's the only reason you're getting out of the house when you can leave the house. Um, when you can leave the house, it's for him to exercise him. And I was like, oh, no. So then I started researching. We started doing some things at home. Um, I started him really young. I was under the guidance of another trainer, and if I remember correctly, we started at like 9 months, which is too young to have a puppy
Right.
vested working in public. Really, like at a year, we start doing that once they have a bit of maturity. He was just like silly, all legs, just
Yep.
typical pointer. But I like
All cheers.
thoroughly, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I, I believe that he did it because he just knew, like, how panicked I was,
Mm.
just getting out of the house, getting in the car, like, I used to cry going to classes, it was just really shit. Um, and then so he worked for about, I think it's 2.5 years he worked for. And then I started to notice that, like, I would put his vest on and he would, like, walk into his vest and then he'd kinda just, like, frog up to the car, jump in the car, lay down. I'd get him out and then he'd just, like, real slowly potter along his way. He'd still task, he'd, still work for me, but it was very slow and, like, the engagement just wasn't there. I'd be like, "Remy," and then he'd, like, look at me and then he'd just keep plodding along. Whereas when he first started, he was, like, watching me, tail wagging, like, super excited to be out, and he just lost that. like
Mm.
2.5 years in, roughly. Um,
I guess he would, do what we call flatten. He would flatten
yes.
out a little bit.
Yeah,
He wouldn't be excited about the job anymore. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he is totally flat. So he actually I took him to a movie, and we'd been to lots of movies before. I took him to a movie with a couple of friends, and he barked in the cinema, which he had never done before. Like, he growled. So it was actually at the Barbie movie. He growled when she came on
I
screen.
growled when I watched a Barbie movie as well.
I was like, "This is odd." Like, he'd never done that before. I'd never seen anything from him. Like, he'd never spook. He was pretty solid.
Mm.
And then I pulled him for a while. Then I brought him back to work, and he was even flatter. And then I was like, this
Mm.
is, to me, unethical, and I just washed him and didn't work him again. And then I got Grayson, my toy poodle, and he is, what is he? Almost 2 in March, and I only started public access with him at, like, 11 months. So it was
Mhm.
definitely, I learnt my lesson. So I wanted a breed that would mature quicker than a large breed.
Yep.
But I also gave him much more time than what I did with Remy, and, like, the difference between those vested is chalk and cheese. If I put a vest on Remy now, he'll do it, but I know he only does it because I'm asking him to. And
Yeah.
I put the vest on Grace, and he's basically just like, we call him twitchy, like, he's popping. He's like, "Yes, let's go."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And look, I think that's a it is a great example, and you do see I don't know about you, but I see dogs from time to time that are, they have a vest on, they're walking through a Bunnings or a supermarket, and they are just like head down, tail down. They are just not comfortable being there.
yeah,
It's very evident, and I think particularly for a job like that, you need a dog that just absolutely fucking loves the job. That, like, it's you and me against the world, and this is the best thing that could happen to me is me coming with you everywhere.
yeah, yeah, definitely, and that's the difference. Like, I have posted a few videos of Grayson, but, like, when I look down at him, because obviously he's so little, when I look down at him, he's like straight away eye contact, his tail is wagging, and he's like prancing at my feet. Whereas if I did that with Remy vested, he would just look at me and just wait, like, what do you want me to do now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But
And
I feel like
look,
also, like, you know your dog, and I know that he is well and truly over it.
yeah, yeah, and I think, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting because, um, d I feel like this is where personality of the dog comes in a lot as well, and, y we can make most dogs do most things,
Mhm.
right? Whether we are using some form of compulsion, whether we train the behavior and we overlay pressure to say like, "Hey, I really, really need you to do this." And that is fine in terms of, like, if you have an off-leash dog and there are kangaroos around and your dog starts running after the kangaroo and you go like, "No, you fucking can't do that. You have to come back to me."
Yeah.
But when it's a much more involved and complicated and kinda life-encompassing job, like being an assistance dog, it's a very different thing. That is when you actually need the dog to be in, okay, I'm not making a pun here, but you need the dog to be invested as much as
Yes.
invest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, the dog actually has to enjoy the job in order to go like, "Man, I wanna go everywhere with you, no matter what's happening around me, no matter how many people are around, no matter how many dogs are barking at me, cars going past, whatever it may be." I feel
Yeah.
like, again, we can train a dog to do most things if they're physically capable of doing it, but we can't make them necessarily want to do it.
Yeah.
I guess that's where the big thing for assistance dogs, and I would also say trigger dogs.
Yep.
So so a trigger dog or decoy dog, whatever you want to call it, is essentially a dog that is trained to be quite neutral around other dogs that we bring out to put in front of dog reactive or dog aggressive dogs to begin working them through their issues. And that's what I got Agna for. That's what he was raised for. And I washed him out of that when he was about 3 years.
Okay.
So I think I did the same thing. I started him a little bit too early. So I got him in the very last COVID lockdown that we had here in Melbourne, which lasted for about 3 months, I think. So we had limited opportunity to go out with him and actually socialize him in the first 3 months of his life. So he's an incredibly like genetically stable dog. He's the kind of dog who, until you ask him to switch on, he is pretty much just chill and calm. And he's incredibly confident, and everything was going well. Like he was awesome for the work that I needed him to do, which was the trigger dog work. And I started taking him out to work around actual reactive dogs when he was about 10 months old, because when everything opened up again and Ollie's hips were kind of breaking, and Ollie is my unicorn dog. I know you mentioned unicorn dogs before. Ollie is my unicorn dog. Like I think he knows the sit command, but that's the only thing he knows how to do. And he was just a perfect trigger dog. He
Mhm.
would go out, he would be around, find 3, 4, 5 aggressive dogs that are lunging and barking at him. And he's just looking at me, smiling and wagging his tail, and just does not give a shit at all. He
Yep.
was my unicorn dog, and it breaks my heart watching him getting older. And obviously, I took him out of that work when he was about 9 years old. He's 12 now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I worked so hard to try and raise Agna to fit his role. And I worked so much on building up stress tolerance, confidence building, essentially trying to make him not scared of anything, not really give a shit about anything.
Yep.
And I started bringing him out to work at 10 months, which I think was too young. Actually, I know that he was too young, which is why I'm taking my time with Goodnight, which is going to be my new trigger dog. But I couldn't use Ollie anymore. I had him. He was already so well trained at 10 months old. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's start putting him in some simple jobs. And he performed brilliantly. Like he was great. He would have dogs bigger than him lunge at him, and he would literally just look at them and go like, "All right, I'm just going to go and piss over here for a bit." Like just did not care at all.
Yep.
And I think this is where I made a mistake. I pushed him too hard. Right. I didn't have any other dogs to rotate him with. So all the work I put on him, pretty much all that I do is working with reactive or aggressive dogs. And we were just out on the road 6 days a week, back to back, meeting dogs that were lunging and barking and just being dickheads to him.
Yep.
And then we got to I cannot remember how long ago this is, but I think so he's 4.5 now. I retired him at 3, so this is pretty much like 18-ish months ago. But I was working with a German Shepherd that had some dog reactivity issue, but it was more kind of dominance. Like he would like bark running towards a dog, and then he would stand over them to kind of go like, "Hey, look at how big and tough and strong I am," kind of thing.
Yep.
But he wasn't actually aggressive. He was just a bit of a dickhead. And what happened is I'd worked with this dog a fair bit, and he was doing pretty well. We had him on an electric collar. We had him out. He was doing well on walks and everything. And now we went like, all right, cool. Let's have him, Agna, and Freya was there as well, and we'll just let them off and we'll let them socialize a little bit. Like this shepherd was wearing a muzzle just to be safe because he'd bitten a person in the past in like a redirecting kind of situation.
Yep.
But yeah, we unclipped him and he just beelined for Agnat. Like just straight beeline. And I stimmed him on the e-collar and he kind of just shook his head and then leaned over Agnat. And I have not seen a change in a dog like that. Agna just kind of like almost jumped up, latched onto his ear, and took nearly half his ear off. And it was just I was not expecting it. I did not see it coming at all. It was completely unexpected, and we managed to choke Agner off. Obviously, put all the dogs away, and the injury wasn't too bad to the shepherd, but he was bleeding. He got a decent,
And it
but
is just piss blood that just
oh yeah, yeah, they do. Oh, it was just pouring blood.
like the
But yeah, but this is like literally after he's been working pretty much full time for a year and not giving a shit about aggressive or reactive dogs at all. And so it came out of the blue. I was not expecting it. I didn't see coming, no nothing. Um, and then problems started popping up more often, right?
yeah,
And so now I think what actually happened is I never wanted Agna to realize how powerful he actually is.
yeah, yeah,
However, in that situation, I fucked up and he unlocked that potential in himself.
yeah. He's like, "I'm
And so,
actually a monster now."
yeah, he's like, this dog is twice the size of me, but I can beat up any dog
Yeah,
essentially. And so now what's happened is we had a couple of more incidents where he actually injured some dogs. And so we just had to pull the plug completely. And it's interesting because a lot of people come to me and they say, what happened? Right? He's so well trained. Why did this happen? And what I like to say to people is imagine this situation. Imagine every single time you leave the house, every single human being you walk past is trying to start a fight with you. Um, Most people, it's not going to take very long before they either crumble, become anxious, nervous wrecks, and lock themselves in the house and never leave again, or they start fighting back.
mhm,
Right. And the mistake that I made was I didn't give him enough downtime. I didn't have another dog to rotate him with, so everything kind of got put on him. And when he matured around the 3-year age, he just went like, fuck no, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And as much as this sucks, that's what happened. Um, and again, it's his personality. Like he's a Malinois. He's not going to run away. He's not going to hide. He's going to go like, "Oh, you want to fucking fight? All right, let's fight."
let's go.
But it's so interesting because he's not dog aggressive. It is literally here on my property. If a male dog gets up in his face, females can get up in his face all day, and he just kind of goes like, "Oh, sorry." But a male dog gets up in his face here on our property, and they go to the hospital. Uh, it's that simple. Whereas out and about, dogs will lunge at him if we're just going for a walk, and it's like they were never there, right? But again, because he has done damage to a couple of dogs, I can't trust him. I
Yeah,
can't take that risk anymore, right? And so had to wash him because of that, which is a shame because he's a 4.5-year-old Malinois. He's in his prime. He's a prime working dog, and now he's got no job to do.
yeah,
So I guess that brings me into the next bit, which is retire or retrain.
yeah,
So when you have a dog that doesn't fit into a particular job, in many cases, it's possible to find something else for them to do and retrain them. But in some cases, we actually have to look at rehoming them. So, what are your thoughts on retraining versus rehoming? I know, there are some trainers who seem to rehome dogs on a yearly basis, which seems a bit weird.
yes.
But
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's very dog dependent. If I had I don't know, let's say I had a really small house and my only other option was to have another male Labrador in my house, for instance, and not a toy poodle, then I mayhaps look at rehoming my, retired assistance dog. Um, I personally, that's why I went toy poodle because I thought I can handle the blind dog, the crackhead, and a little crackhead. I can do that. That's like
Mhm.
my health, my mental health. I can do that. Um, and I just retrained Remy for other things. I understand that, some people don't have the luxury of being able to own 3 dogs, 5 dogs. They're expensive. Their vet appointments are expensive. I get it. I'm just I'm a softie, and I feel like for me, Remy did his best for as long as he could, and now I'm like, I want to give him the best for as long as I can. That sounds so corny, but that's where I am
That would
with
make
him.
sense.
Yeah, he's what I could build my business on. Like, I got out of the house, I made friends. Before that, I was stuck in my house crying all the time because I was just so anxious. Now I'm like going to dock and hiking and running classes and doing so much more than like, couldn't have done that pre-Remy. So,
Yeah, so he's almost like an assistance dog even without the vest on.
yes. Yeah. That's what I think. I feel like he has just changed my life essentially. Which is why I got a 3 kilo toy poodle. I would have loved a standard poodle. I would have loved one. However, I know that I cannot afford to groom a standard poodle and feed a 40 kilo pointer raw, you know, like I don't
Yeah.
have that money. So
Yeah,
that's
sure, sure.
why I did what I did. But I think, yeah, retraining, and if it is suitable for your home, rehoming, I just find it like really hard to find homes trying to rehome a dog. Like, I have a couple of clients who've had to rehome their border collies, and it's just really hard to find someone who will want to take on like a 2-year-old border collie who is a retired assistance dog, or they now have fury activity, for instance. Someone has to take on that dog willingly, knowing that they're going to have issues. But if you can find someone, I'm all for it.
Mm.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Nimble?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, I agree. It's I actually looked at rehoming Agno. So my thinking with that was he's got so much to give, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of just put the word out to a bunch of people that I knew were in the sporting dog world to say, like, hey, I've got this dog. I can't use him for the only thing that I do, which is working with reactive or aggressive dogs. Like, I can't use him for that anymore, but he's not dog aggressive. Like, he doesn't have any issues and he just loves doing stuff. Right. And so my thinking was that he would probably utilize his potential better away from here than he would just staying here with me.
Yeah.
And I did actually have someone get back to me and say that they were looking for a dog to do sports with. I didn't get any details, but when I was kind of getting ready to set up the chat, my missus decided that that wasn't going to happen. So he's still with us. And look, I get it. It's tough. Like, I guess for us, we can distance ourselves from it because we see so many dogs, we work with so many dogs, we have different dogs for different jobs, and we can kind of compartmentalize that a little bit. But for her, she had to keep her big fucking 45 kilo pure muscle Malinois. So what he does now, he's a demo dog for obedience and drive work, and he fucking murders rabbits like he's Charles Manson, which I'm all for. So that's kind of his new job for the time being.
Yeah.
And he's loving it. Like, I mean, he just fucking runs around the property. He comes back with the occasional dead rabbit. And yeah, look, could he would he have been achieving his full potential better somewhere else? I have no doubt. But he's happy here. He's happy what we do, and I use him whenever I can use him, and I lock him away whenever I can't use him, and everyone's kind of content and happy.
Yep.
So yeah, it's the rehoming thing is a tough one, like you said, because a lot of dogs who need to be rehomed, they often have some issues or they have some prior training that might be incompatible with the new owners and that kind of stuff. But But yeah, it's having a very specific dog for a very specific purpose. There is a very small margin for error, I guess.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that can go wrong. That means you have to retire that dog, and that's where things get a little bit complicated.
Yes. Yeah. I understand, like, I work with a lot of people who well, not a lot. I've worked with some people who I've said, like, "I would recommend you retire this dog." Um, in particular, like, a very old client of mine, had a German Shepherd who was human and dog aggressive, not just reactive, aggressive, and she was taking this dog out on a prong collar, like, out at the shops, and I was like to her, "You can't do that if you are, like, if a business stops you with that tool on, you can get charged, like, you cop fines. It's just not doable for this dog, like." And she said to me, "Well, I have no other option and I can't afford another dog, so she will work. I'll find someone who will do it with me." And I was like, "Oh, okay. All right then." I
Yeah. And look, I guess so I don't really work in the assistance dog or therapy dog space at all, but I presume there are a lot of mental health issues that can be complicated to work through as well.
yeah.
And I get it. Like I was saying before, like everyone's got the best dog in the world and they're not technically wrong for them. But when you are looking for a very specific dog to do a very specific task, you need a very specific dog in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, have you had many reharming situations? Or like have you helped many people with reharming in the past? Or
Um, a couple, but I wouldn't say a ton. Like, a couple of border collies that just aren't really suited for the lifestyle they have. A couple of shepherds. Uh, yeah, not too many.
so you're saying that herding dogs don't always fit into like a suburban environment? Is that what you're saying?
Look, I don't want to actually say that. But yes, I think,
Uh,
as you are well aware, they're just so much work, and people think, because they have all that energy, they'll make a good assistance dog, or they will be happy to run around the block with their partner or whatever. But, like, no, they're not. They need to be off lead, running, getting rid of that energy, biting something, hurting something, doing something, bloody jumping off a dock. I don't know, something that fulfills them that's not just running on pavement for
yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, when we talk about working with reactive dogs, we usually are talking about some kind of working dog, right? It's a Kelpie in an apartment. It's a German Shepherd that gets walked for 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day on a harness, pulling like a freight train, lunging and everything. They are intense working dogs that need to, I mean, utilize their brain more than anything else.
Yeah.
And actually, like that's a good point right there because do you find I find a lot of people get very hung up on physically exercising their dogs, but they do absolutely nothing for the dog mentally.
Yes. I
So
I have a
they
real
essentially try to run them ragged without asking them to actually do anything and think about what they do.
I have a real gripe with this topic. It could go on for ages. I find that they either wanna, like, run them until the dog's tongue is, like, hanging out of their head, or they just give them puzzle toys all day, every day, like the dog's eating, like a frozen Kong when they go off to work, or like a puzzle toy, but that's all they do. That's like in substitute of a walk. I don't know, that just
Mm,
really I love enrichment toys, I do, but I'm also like, you need to get that dog out. Like, you need to keep its mind actually active, do something with it. Like, I don't know, if you got a herding dog, get it to herd the ball while you kick it. I don't know, frisbee, disc, whatever it is, something. But free enrichment toys while you're at work is not the equivalent to, like, working it for half an hour.
no, and I think all right, sorry, we're going a little bit off
We
topic here now,
we always
but
do this, yeah.
Yeah, we always do this, which is fine. Like I love just rambling on about this, but how often do you see really high drive dogs that people are, like you said, giving enrichment toys to in order to keep them as calm as humanly fucking possible? And you're like,
All the
no,
time,
this dog needs to do high drive stuff. It
all the
doesn't
time.
need to sit on the licky mat for 5 hours a day, essentially.
Yep. Yeah,
And I guess that comes back to, a little bit of the topic of what we were saying on working dogs and having to retire dogs. And it's turning into like the rehoming podcast now. But like if you if you are 70 years old, if you are in a walker, if you refuse to work with an electric collar, and you have, a working line border collie, there are going to be some headbutting scenarios there, most
mhm,
likely, and maybe you just don't have the right dog for the job. I can
yeah,
tell you one fucking thing for sure: I am never getting another fucking Malinois because Malinois
yeah.
shouldn't exist, in my opinion. But that's also a little bit
Oh.
off topic. Uh,
They're a lot.
all all right, they are. Oh man, they are a lot. All right, cool. Anything else you want to touch on? Assistance dogs, rehoming dogs, retiring dogs, whatever it may be. Now's your chance. If not, plug your stuff and let's say goodbye to the beautiful people listening to us.
My only other wrap up, I guess, would be that if your dog does need to retire for whatever reason, health, mental health, whatever it is, that doing something else with them is what I always recommend. Again, like I said, dock diving, great, herding, disc, the flirt pole, I don't know, something, even if that's hiking or you have a experienced dog walker, take your dog down to the local oval and play herding games with it. I don't know, something else that's not asking too much of them. That's what I have found with Remy has really been a game changer. He used to whine all the time. He is silent now. He's a silent dog because we're just doing cool shit, hiking mainly. He loves it, uses his nose. But yeah, I think I have spoken enough. I can just bloody ramble. I can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and look, like I guess retiring a dog, think of retirement. What happens after you finish working? Well, you don't stop reading books. You don't stop
Yep.
making puzzles. You don't stop fucking going in the garden, right? You're still doing things. You still need hobbies. You need activities to keep your mind operational, to keep your body healthy. And it's the same with a working dog, whether that dog is retired at 2 years or 10 years, it doesn't really matter. They still need things to do.
Yep. Agreed.
Awesome. All right,
Well, thank
Hailey,
you for your
tell
time.
us. No, thank you for coming on. This was awesome. I love this chat, and it's kind of like not in my wheelhouse so much because I am very specific in the things that I do with dogs. But I always love hearing new things and learning new things, and I
Yep.
think this was a cool conversation
It
because
was a cool conversation.
I think a lot of people, especially like dog trainers and people that are doing very specific things with dogs, end up retiring their dogs more often than a lot of people talk about. So I think it's a cool conversation to have and something to bring to light for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
All right.
I have
Lost you there
every
for a second.
platform.
You just froze.
Oh, sorry. Am I back?
All right, hang on. You just froze there for a second, but you're back now. All right, plug your stuff. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they train with you?
So I'm located in Altona Meadows. I do structured walks, classes, puppy school. I do pretty much any age of dogs. My business name is obviously ZenergyK9, and you can find me on every single platform: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and I have a website. So yeah, I'm everywhere.
Zenergy Zenergy K9 it is. Oh man, I have luckily managed to stay off TikTok. That seems like a toxic little
I
shithole to be
hate
on.
it. I hate it.
Oh man. All right. And on that note, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed the chat. If you have any feedback, if you have any topics you want to hear about, feel free to contact me directly at Viking Dog Trainer. And more importantly, if you do have a dog, go train your fucking dog. Goodbye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beastly Talks. I hope you found it interesting and that you'll join me for the next one as well. If you like this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review it so that more people can hear about it. Or if you think this particular episode would benefit a family member, friend or colleague, be sure to share it with them directly. You can follow me on social media at Viking Dog Trainer on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. Thank you for your support and keep training your dog.